Hello and welcome back. Our first featured speaker of the night is Andrew Dahlin. As Executive Vice President of Safety and Operations Technical Services, Andrew guides the company's commitment to safety and oversees technical functions that include asset integrity, innovation and technology, supply chain management, well delivery, and regulatory and environment. Andrew has been involved in the oil and gas industry for more than 25 years, with experience in technical operations, commercial management, and upstream and downstream roles. Prior to joining Cenovus in 2021, Andrew spent 9 years at Husky Energy in various senior level roles, including Executive Vice President, Downstream and Midstream, Executive Vice President of Western Canada Upstream as well. Before joining Husky, Andrew had a 19-year career with Shell in Europe, the Middle East, and Canada. Andrew holds a Master's of Science in Petroleum Engineering from Imperial College and a Bachelor of Engineering in Civil Engineering from the University of Surrey in the United Kingdom. A warm welcome to you, Andrew. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Nima, and good evening, everyone. On behalf of Cenovus, I'm truly honored to be with you tonight as we wrap up this year's energy conference. And what a cool event it's been. And kudos to you, Nima, and the organizing committee for putting this together. From my vantage point, this event, has been a really great opportunity to network, to learn, and to connect and share ideas. And it's been so for me personally, and also for us as a company. And I say that as, well, first of all, I got connected to this conference actually by Nima, our chair of this event, when we worked together last year during one of her co-op terms. And then yesterday and today, session by Victoria Wallace, who gave a sort of grounding presentation on the Canadian energy sector. And it was extra cool because she actually connected the technology deployment to actually improving our environmental performance. And then I sat in a session on AI and data analytics. I sat in on a session on renewable energy transition, and then a really good session too on tying diversity and inclusion to innovation. So for me personally, I got a lot out of it. And then of course, as a company, we Cenovus, we sponsored the case competition and the hackathon. And in fact, later on tonight, we're going to announce the winner of the case competition. And it was a case competition centered around sustainability. And in fact, I'd love to have the winning group actually come and present your case to some of our key leaders at Cenovus. And that will include Rona Del Ferrari, who's our SVP of sustainability. So looking forward to that. When I look back at the last couple of days, what strikes me is that all of the sessions had one key thing in common, and that was change. So as many of you complete your academic careers over the coming months and years, in fact, and you move into the next stage of your professional lives, change is clearly going to be a constant for you. And indeed, change and anticipating it, managing it, and embracing it, will be at the core of your success and of our success as people, as community members, and also as an industry. So with that as a backdrop, tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about how change has actually shaped my career. I'm going to share some insight into that. And the critical role, I'll also give you some detail on the critical role I believe change will play in our energy industry as we go forward. And then, of course, I would love for you to be part of this change and then help us build an even better future together. So, a little bit about me and my career. I'm originally from Norway, and that explains the slightly funny accent. And actually, I wasn't initially drawn into the energy business. In fact, I wanted to travel around the world and build stuff. So when I went to university and I did a civil engineering degree, and I absolutely loved it. And my bachelor project was, in fact, in London, UK, and I was taking water out of the Thames at a time where actually the river was so polluted that fish couldn't survive in it. And what we were doing is we were cleaning the water simply by running it through beds of sand and then a thin artificial filter. So I just love it. I was ready to go. And just as I graduated, no one was hiring. So, ouch. No job and $50,000 in debt. So It's like, oh crap, what do I do now? Well, the girlfriend at the time, she actually knew someone who'd done a petroleum engineering degree. And so off I went and did this MSc in petroleum engineering, indeed, at Imperial College that you spoke to, Nima. And it was on the back of that degree, and a little bit of a luck too, probably, with an improving economy, that I got a couple of job offers. And then one of them was from Shell, with the promise of working abroad from day number one. Bullseye. So now I'm back on track, and perhaps not right out of the gate, and certainly not how I'd envisioned it, but that's okay, because I was back and I was getting to travel the world. And so my first job was actually on the drilling rigs. You know, I was truly sort of hands-on experience, you know, first as a roughneck, then as an assistant driller, and then ultimately as a night supervisor offshore in the North Sea. And I mention that because I will forever look back at this time as truly foundational to my career, and knowing what actually happens on the front line and how work gets done, you know, is truly key for all of us, and for you one day when you find yourself in management. And it's certainly benefited me tremendously. Now, of course, I'm loving it. I'm making good money. I'm paying off this scary debt that I had, but I also wanted more. And frankly, I wanted to be home more. So I actually never forget, excuse me, I'll never forget being in a park one day with my dad and my girlfriend, and by the way, a new girlfriend, and the one I'm married to now, and telling my dad that if I can just make it to drilling engineer and be in town, then I will have made it. I did. And then really the career ball started rolling from then, but often in the strangest of ways. And so I'm going to tell you some stories in support of this, but also in the knowledge that I'm absolutely convinced that you're going to be going on a similar roller coaster of change. But as you do so, know that in my case, there were three important things. And I think firstly, I think a lot of my opportunity and sort of the success that came from that has come from always delivering, so keeping my promises, from having high personal integrity, and through collaboration. So that's kind of big point number one. And then secondly, throughout my career, when someone thoughtful and someone that I trust has offered me a role outside my current area of expertise, I've always taken it. And these roles have always turned out to be good. You know, they've made me better, and then they've also provided me actually with some fabulous personal experiences. And then thirdly, I'm a firm believer in actually learning from those around us. And so when I'm inspired by someone or I see some excellence, you know, ask myself, what are they doing that makes them so good? And then I add that to my toolbox. So let's move back in time again, you know, in the TARDIS for those of you that watch Doctor Who. And we'll go back to about 1996 when I'm about 28 years old, and I'm due my next job or my next assignment in Shell. In fact, at the time in Shell, we actually had godfathers, and those godfathers, they actually decided on your next job. So you didn't really apply, you just got told where you went. So my girlfriend and I, you know, we met with our godfather, and we told them we will go anywhere in the world except for the Middle East, because we can't go there because we're living together and we're not married. So 6 months later, the phone rings, we pick up, and voila, we are going to the Middle East. Nice one. So, wow, so talk about a change. So well, it actually turns out to be probably the best 4 years of our life. And it's also where our careers took off. So for starters, you know, when we arrive, and our bosses have actually arranged for us to live in 2 adjoining top floor condos with an interconnected balcony. Pretty cool, crisis averted. Next, we get to meet some of the best people I've ever met. Kind, funny, clever, adventurous, and actually driven to always do better for the company, not just for themselves, but for the company and for the community. And then I was also actually fortunate to get to meet and work with, actually strictly speaking, but really big with the best leader I've ever met. And that was a guy called Abdullah Lgbta. And I learned so much just from watching and mimicking him. And one of the key traits of his was that he truly got to know people. And in a company, we were 3,000 people. He knew at least 1,000 people by name, and he truly cared about you. And in fact, it was Abdullah actually who gave Nekla, my wife now, Nekla, and I our first roles outside of engineering. And he threw us right into the deepest part of the pool, you know, with roles in corporate strategy and business planning. And what fun we had, including dealing actually with a previous crisis where in 1999, where oil actually hit $10 a barrel. So we'll move a little bit forward. It was actually on the back of these roles and doing some good work that we ended up back in Europe. I worked in acquisition divestment, so now I'm getting another broadening assignment. And Nicola actually worked first on a giant Russian project, and then actually as the bag carrier for the COO, so the Chief Operating Officer. And the relevance of that is that of that job and her role was that at the end of 2 years, crazy 2 years actually, where she truly delivered, she pretty much got to pick where in the world we would go next. So no Godfather this time, we got to pick. And we picked Canada, and we made Canada our home. So in fact, I'll now fast forward close to 20 years, and during which time, Nicola and I got married, finally, and we have 3 kids. Nicola started working actually more and more in the community. And in fact, in the end, she actually made community work her second career. And now she's on to her third career, writing books and trying to get published. And on my side, I'm actually still in my first career, officially in my first career. But in the last 15 years, I was just counting actually, I worked in 7 or 8 different roles, and they've been in operations, in commercial business roles, in management roles, and of course then more recently in executive leadership roles, where I have the fun and the opportunity actually to engage with investors. I've got the opportunity to meet with community leaders, and specifically, and probably the most enjoyable bit, with First Nations communities and chiefs. And I have so much fun, truly, with a front row seat now to ESG, to diversity and inclusion, and to the transformation through technology. And as Nima talked in my introduction, I'm right back on the learning curve today. I just joined Cenovus as an EVP. Obviously, we're now the 3rd largest Canadian integrated oil and gas company. And then for the first time in my career, I'm actually leading a corporate group. So as opposed to a line business, a corporate group. And that includes leading the innovation and technology group, which I am so looking forward to. I'm loving it. I'm truly embracing the change. I'm listening to new perspectives, and I'm certainly learning every day. And I'm doing it, in the knowledge that it will make me a better leader. I know I can help industry, I can help our business, I can help the communities we work in, and I really hope too that I can help the many good people that we work with, and that's one of the reasons I'm here today. So, which really brings me to the second part of my talk, and that is to the energy industry and the change that we are going through. Just take a sip of water and then I'll get at it. And as Nima said, actually in your 6:30 introduction, Nima, we've heard a lot about this change over the last 2 days. And from my perspective, whilst we're going through a little bit of a tough time here, right in the middle of the transition, I actually believe there truly is cause for optimism, because the world needs energy. And as I said, we're just right in the middle of a transition, and we know we're going to come out successful in this transition. As many of the speakers have said over the last couple of days, it's absolutely crystal clear that there will be a role for oil and gas for decades. But it will be a part, or and it will be part of an increasingly diversified energy mix, which will include solar, it will include wind, hydro, geothermal, and also in time hydrogen. And of course, we've got to make it work, and we've got to make it available, and we have to play our part in decarbonizing the world. And so if I reflect on that, it's therefore absolutely clear to me that technology and innovation, is going to be the crux to our future success of this broad-based energy industry. And of course, technology and innovation will actually underpin our ability to produce our product more efficiently, more cheaply, and a socially and an environmentally responsible way, with a reduced footprint and with reduced emissions, et cetera, et cetera. And then I think, again, and I'm building on kind of what I've seen here over the last couple of days, and that is, I think it's important to recognize too that the energy industry will also be supported and advanced by, what I best can describe as an emerging wave of industries. Some will be based around AI, machine learning, coding, and visualization. And we're using that in a lot of work these days, visualization that will actually support decision-making and help us optimize the business. Some businesses will be centered on technologies like carbon capture and storage technology. And others, again, will center on the development, transportation, and use of hydrogen. Now, here's the other thing, reality is companies have already brought down cost and started the energy transformation. Think of solar, think of wind. And many companies have already reduced emissions intensities by 20 or 30%, and with plans to match those 20 or 30% again over the next decade. But I think we aspire to better, to do even better, and I know we can do better. And so that's what we're setting out to do. And we're doing that together with our peers, we're doing that with academics and with students like yourself, we're doing it with other industries, and we're doing it with entrepreneurs that you heard from in the sessions this morning. And it's absolutely crystal clear to me that the future of the industry, of this energy industry, will be marked by change. Just like we've seen in the past, that took us from coal to petroleum to solar, wind, and geothermal, and then next up, generation solutions that are right on our doorstep. But I honestly think this change is going to be quicker and underpinned by more innovative ideas, hopefully generated by talent like yourselves here tonight, and by new technologies. And Synovus and all the companies and the people that you've met over the past 2 days are truly invested in this future. And I personally look forward to creating an environment for this to happen. And I absolutely do so in the full knowledge that you will be building this future. Which brings me to my final piece tonight, and that is the importance of being open to changing the way we think. Just thinking of this phone, I'm holding up this phone, I'll hold it the right way even, but that's one of my kids. It started off as a phone, became a camera, became a texting tool, the root of apps and music centers. And I bet you that Mr. Jobs did not think of all of that on day one. And I'll argue that the change in mindset is going to be the most critical component to our future success. And so over the past few years, improving diversity and inclusion has become a key focus area, not only of the energy industry, but for all the businesses across the world. And I think we recognize the profound value of a diverse workforce, both in terms of attracting and retaining talent, but also to our bottom line. But diversity is only one piece, and inclusion and getting the best out of everyone is actually the key. So I'll say that again, diversity is one piece, but inclusion and getting the best out of everyone is the key. And so I think of diversity as the ingredients, but actually how we unleash this talent is through inclusion. And that's actually personal to me, and it continues to be one of the biggest things I focus on. So since 2017, actually I wear a band quite proudly. I've been sponsoring, I'm the executive sponsor of the Lgbta Employee Resource Group. And you know what? That's really aimed at promoting and supporting an inclusive work environment for our LGBT friends and colleagues. We marched in Pride Parade, we promoted education sessions, and really, I got involved because as a leader, it's important for me to come out of neutral space and publicly state my claim as an ally. And I want to ensure that all our LGBT employees, in fact, all our employees feel comfortable being themselves at work and knowing that they'll have an ally in the C-suite. But even more so, I'm doing it because I actually want to create a work environment where every individual, no matter who they are, where they are, or where their families come from, or who they love, that everyone is valued and able to bring their full selves to work. And you know what? We're just getting started. And that's where you come in. So I've talked a lot tonight about change in my career, in industry, and in the way we think about and drive diversity and inclusion. And now you guys are up next. So I truly look forward to seeing what you will all accomplish and the positive change that you will drive for our energy business and our community. You know what? I'm truly excited for you, and I'm excited for us together. So in advance, thank you. So I think with that, I'm happy to take some questions. I'm actually just looking here. I can see some. What are some good ones here? What have we got? What research did you do to prepare for your new role? Okay, so one thing I'll talk to straight away is I never had a career plan. All I had was a sort of short-term goals around being a good family man, raising a good family, enjoying life, being good in the community. And so I had very typically short-term roles, and I see all of the roles coming my way really as an opportunity. And the opportunities come around because of all the experiences I've collected throughout all of these different years, some at work, some in the community, some raising kids, and some through sport. So I really didn't do a lot of preparation other than being ready to deliver with integrity and through collaboration. What else? How do you deal with stress and challenges? This is a question from Lana. Lana says, how do you deal with stress and challenges undertaking roles and projects that pushed you out of your comfort zone? Holy mackerel, I'm out of my comfort zone on so many occasions. I think there was actually a session, I can't remember if it was work or one of these sessions, but a little bit on mental health here recently. I think it's really important to look out for yourself. And so one of the things I've always done is look out for myself in terms of some very, very basics, but sleep well, eat well, and do exercise and have a good social network with really good friends. And I've got some phenomenal friends. And so that's helped me. And then also relying on the tremendously good people around me. Let me see. How are we doing for time? Well, I've still got time. The biggest career mistake what career mistake has given you the biggest lesson? Yeah, okay, so this is just a little bit of a sort of a personal way of how I go about my life, and you might find it helpful. And what I do in life in general, and I'll talk to work context in a minute, is I always try and take all the decisions that are in front of me with the best information available at the time. And so if I'm true to that, then I also then make sure that as time passes, that I don't look back at those decisions with a negative tone. I can look back maybe with what can I learn from that? But just remember, you took the decision with the best information at your hand. And so for me, I don't really look back and think of them as mistakes, but I look at them, more sort of as opportunities to improve. And actually, one was the very technical one. I actually designed some facilities, or was part of designing some facilities many years ago. And instead of following the industry standard, we thought we were maybe brighter or better. And it was a big mistake. We should have followed the industry standard. And I think we would have delivered a better business as a result. How do you avoid being complacent in your role? Be humble. Be humble and be open to, back to Lgbta, and be open to input from thousands of people, the hundreds or the thousands of people around you. I just feel so fortunate to be here tonight, and it was strictly as function of the fact that our company, Husky, which is now Synovus, had co-op students. One of our co-op students was Nima. We shared a floor together. We chatted occasionally, and she presented me with this opportunity. So just be open to people, be open to input, and connect with people. What else? Can you please highlight how diversity and inclusion has helped enhance your work and personal life? I can think of so many examples. A little work story I didn't tell you about. Lots of things I didn't tell you about. But as a kid, I lived in Japan. Our parents wanted to travel to, or my parents. And so I lived in Japan. I was small. I think I was 6 to 9 years old. And I think I spoke a little bit of Japanese at the time, but basically got disconnected from it. 30 years later, I had the opportunity to work with Mitsui and Mitsubishi. And so I was every month I was 1 week in Tokyo for a year. So basically did 12 trips. And you know what? I think my respect for people, my desire to understand and show not empathy in a negative way, but empathy in a positive way, actually allowed me to really be successful in those negotiations and that work that we did with Mitsui and Mitsubishi. So first of all, so it helped me deliver there and then. The other thing it really did is, here's what I learned there. When they finish a meeting, they do a round table, but instead of the most senior leaders speaking first, they speak last. And so they actually start with the most junior people in the organization, and they ask them to wrap up the meeting and summarize actions and what we've learned and what we've decided. And I think it's a fabulous way of going about in life, and that is making sure that you get absolutely everyone's input, because I get back to this principle of then everyone will bring their best, and then together we will actually be better than the sum of even the individual pieces. What's a question here? How do you see technology evolving into industry? Just really just never ending, actually. I think all I'll say, I mentioned quite a few examples in my speech, but I think we're going to see an escalation, because what I'm seeing even in towns like Calgary at the moment, probably Mayor Nenshi talked about it this morning, we're now really becoming a city of many, many entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial companies. And I think that in time, what we're going to see is we're going to see a number of these ideas coalesce. And so we're not even just going to see normal sort of a normal ramp up of technology deployment and improving the business. But I'm actually hoping and thinking that we might see an exponential uptake of technology deployment in our industry, and obviously then for the benefit of our community, so whether it's in Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan, or Ontario. All right, I think I have pretty much tackled them all. Am I missing anything that you can see, Nima?
Yeah, no, I think you did a wonderful job. Oh, there's another one that just popped up as we spoke. So do you have a list of virtues you follow as a leader on a daily basis?
I have a list of virtues. It's a fancy word. I'm not sure I need to look that up. I need to look that up, Nima. Hey, do you know what? I think I have a few sort of character traits that I fall back on every day. And that is, as I said earlier, act with integrity, collaborate, engage with people, like truly to get the best out of them. And to help me on that, I'll tell you one thing I do at the end. Actually, I do it Friday afternoon. And I do this knowing that, over the last 10 years, I've managed groups as big as close to 2,000 people. But at the end of Friday, every week, I ask myself two questions. And that is, what part of the business have I helped move forward this week? And then who have I helped make better this week? And I think so if it was a virtue, and maybe it's an age thing, Nima, I'm not sure, but I think I'm reaching that stage in my life now where I get just a tremendous amount of satisfaction, and most of my satisfaction out of seeing other people succeed.
Oh, that's beautiful. I think that's a wonderful answer to that question. No need to look up the definition of anything. You handle that perfectly. Yeah, no, I think you've done a wonderful job here. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, for giving that wonderful speech, for talking about your journey, what it means to embrace change and really embody the values that come along with inclusion and diversity. And apart from that, also echoing the sentiment that, our energy needs are not going anywhere, but the way that we go about and having those met is constantly evolving. And also thank you for taking the time to answer some of the great questions that we've gotten here from our audience. To our audience, Andrew will be around actually in our next portion here of the programming. So that's our networking session. You can find him in the Synovus networking room. And again, the code is ASEC 2021, and that's all in caps, that you can use to essentially enter all the rooms. We're now going to be going into a brief intermission and giving you that opportunity to take full advantage of going into those networking rooms and hopefully having another conversation with Andrew here. Apart from that, we also highly recommend that you go about and using your food voucher at this time. So you've been sent this through email, as I had mentioned before. If you do have any technical difficulties, feel free to message the team. Either Ro and I would be happy to help you out. And then apart from that, yeah, we look we look forward to seeing you back here in just a little bit for our next featured speaker. Again, thank you so much, Andrew, and it was wonderful having you a part of this year's conference.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Nima, and to all of you, go out and be great, make a big difference. Have a good evening.